Welcome back to Financial Therapy. It's not just about the money. I'm personal financial planner, columnist, and financial therapist Rick Kahler. Research tells us that 90% of all financial decisions are made emotionally, not logically. For nearly 4 decades, I've been helping people make better money decisions. So what makes my financial worldview different from most financial experts? I blend the nuts and bolts of financial advice with the emotions that drive making them. Good money decisions are not just about the money. So let's get started with today's episode. Welcome back to another episode. And I definitely want to talk about money today. And then I'm going to tie this money discussion into the emotions. But you'll need to bear with me while I take some time to get there. And what I want to talk about is how financial professionals are compensated. And then tie that into why people typically pay 50 to 100 to 200 to 300% more because of the emotional component that's going on. Questionnaire that I routinely give prospects of our financial planning firm asks 2 questions and asks them to rate it on a scale of 1 to 5, and 1 being it doesn't describe me, and 5 being this describes me really well. The first one is I see financial planning and investment management as 2 different services. The second is I'm familiar with how different types of financial advisors receive compensation. The majority of the respondents usually give a 1 or a 2 response to either of these questions, meaning they don't see a difference between financial planning and investment management, and they are not familiar with how financial planners are paid. So there's really no wonder why so many consumers think that they have a financial planner when they actually have an investment advisor, and why they may think that investment advice is actually financial planning advice when it isn't. First, let's start with it. There's a huge difference between financial planning and investment advising. Most people are completely unaware of the difference. And I would say that there's advisors that are also unaware of the difference, that will call themselves financial planners when they're actually performing investment advice. I think in similar fashion, there's lots of confusion, both on the parts of consumers and advisors, as to what is life planning, what is financial life planning or integrated financial planning, which combines the interior side of money with the financial planning. But first, we got to understand what financial planning is, apart from being financial life planning. So let's get clear on this, that investment advice is not financial planning, just as financial life planning is not financial therapy. These are all very separate things. When you go shopping for financial advice and you want financial planning, you need to ask yourself, am I looking for financial advice in every area of my life? Or am I just needing help with investment decisions? Quite frankly, providing investment advice is pretty easy. It would be the most profitable thing that a financial planning firm does. Financial planning is labor intensive. Investment advice, not so much. Investment advice is pretty much commoditized. It's pretty easy. It doesn't take a lot of time. Financial planning advice is on its way to being commoditized, but is nowhere near being commoditized right now. So that's where 75%, let's say, of a financial planning firm focused in labor cost is in providing the financial planning services to give financial advice on insurance and taxes and estate plans, cash flow management, and all of these particular areas. So that's really important that you pair that up. The investment advisor is going to focus on helping you with investment decisions. And, investment decisions are important, very important to your well-being. So when you reach out to an investment advisor, they're going to assess your risk tolerance. They're going to help you select your asset allocation, select good fund managers. They'll pay attention to lowering the costs and minimizing taxes. They're not going to provide guidance or direction on any other aspect of your financial life. Often you will find an investment advisor will run a retirement projection for you and see on your current course what you could retire on. And then sometimes they'll call this financial planning. So I would say that's the most common financial planning engagement that I find is basically running a retirement plan along with your investments. But if you really need help with selecting the appropriate retirement plan, 401k, IRAs, simple IRAs, etc., analyzing retirement income needs, drafting wills, trusts, reviewing insurance needs and coverages, implementing tax strategies, dealing with longevity risks, protecting your assets, increasing your well-being, having your money support your quest for meaning in life, and all sorts of other financial questions like, do I lease or buy a car? Then you need financial planning. In many cases, a person needs both investment advice and financial planning. But unfortunately, like I said, it isn't always easy to tell whether professionals offer both. Anyone can claim to be an investment advisor or financial planner, just like anyone can claim to be a financial therapist. All of these titles are not regulated. So it's up to the consumer, it's up to you to figure out if someone holding themselves out to be an investment advisor, a financial planner, or a financial therapist actually provide the services that they advertise. A lot who advertise as financial planners don't do comprehensive financial planning. Many only sell financial products and then provide the retirement projection and call it financial planning. So you can't rely on the title, you can't rely on the advertising to determine what they actually do. Forever, we've seen really large companies run phenomenal ads on television, but in print as well, that sound like not only do they do comprehensive financial planning, but they'll do life planning. They'll add the emotional component into the engagement. And when you look under the hood and really understand how they practice and the services they offer, they don't deliver on that at all. So if you think it's a little bit crazy that you can't rely on what someone says they do, you're absolutely right. I mean, imagine going to a medical professional that advertises they're a board-certified dermatologist who's in fact a physical therapist. Or going to an attorney who advertises their specialty is divorce, who really specializes in patent law. Or hiring a general contractor that turns out to be an electrical firm. So the point that I'm making is that you as a consumer, you don't have to expect to have to verify that a professional in any field is actually trained, actually competent to perform the services that they offer. And we know that there's at least minimal training in medicine and law, even in mental health. But when it comes to finances and your money, which is a 21st century survival skill of managing it correctly, because of the financial influence of the major financial firms on members of Congress, that's exactly what you've got to do when you're looking for financial advice. You've got to educate yourself. So when you're looking for the right financial advisor, you need to determine, do you need a product? Do you need to buy a specific product like universal life, an indexed annuity, fixed annuity, a mutual fund, or a private REIT? If you're clear, this is what I want, then you look for a salesperson that sells these products. Now, they don't call themselves salespeople. They call themselves financial advisors. When people ask me what I do, one of the things I tell them that I do, I tell them that I'm a financial therapist. I tell them I'm a financial advisor. Well, so does the salesperson. So that doesn't tell you a lot. So if you need the product, then just like with buying a car, I've been a subscriber to Consumer Reports for decades, right? And when I go in to buy an appliance, I have my Consumer Report in hand, and I'm going in and I'm asking for very specific brands and types of appliances. You've got to do your research. So you need to do your research on what type of fixed annuity you need to get, what are the costs involved of the various brands, or universal life, or the same with a private REIT, what are the costs, what are the companies that have the lower cost, the better performance. You need to do your research before you go in and start listening to the pitch of the salesperson. Because what's the salesperson's incentive? Their salesperson's incentive is to sell you their product. Now, it doesn't mean they're nefarious or trying to do harm. This is how they're compensated. Most salespeople believe in their products. Not all, but that's their job. And a good salesman is going to try and match the right product with you because they need a happy customer. But understand that the fiduciary duty of someone selling something is to their company, not to the consumer. The consumer has got to look out for themselves. That's the difference between being a customer and a client. If you're a customer, you're on your own. If you're a client, then the professional has a duty to put your interests first, or in other words, be an advocate for you. So when you go to a financial therapist, for example, they absolutely need to be an advocate for you, right? You don't even want to consider going to a financial therapist that would be compensated by selling anything. That's just, I can't wrap my head around that. So be really clear. Do you need to buy a product and a specific product? Do your research. But if you don't know whether you need any product, much less a specific one, then don't ask a salesperson what you need. You need unbiased financial advice before you go shopping. So you've got to find an investment advisor who does not have a conflict of interest from selling products, one who charges a fee for their financial advice. You can call that fee only is kind of the buzzword that's used there. So if you need more than investment advice in every area of your life, then you need to find an advisor that does comprehensive financial planning. And if you want to add in the emotional component into financial planning, you need to look for somebody that does financial life planning, integrated planning. There's no one term for it. And of course, if you need financial therapy, you need to look for someone who does financial therapy, which is different from financial planning and even financial life planning. So how do you determine if an advisor is a salesperson or an investment advisor or a financial planner? You'll need to look at their websites. You'll need to review their ADVs, which you can find online at, I think, sec.gov. But every investment advisor has these on file, and it will tell you very specifically what they do. Ultimately, though, you've got to interview them and ask a lot of very specific questions to sort out what services do they actually provide. So that's a lot of work, isn't it? You can help cut this work down by going to the National Association of Personal Financial Planners site, NAPFA, NAPFA.org, I believe is the site. And this is several thousand financial planners that have been vetted, that they're actually doing fee-only, fee-for-service financial planning. But that's about the only shortcut that I know. The next question that we talked about that folks usually don't understand is all the compensation models for financial planners. So the fee that you pay matters. I've already referred to fee only. And so how you pay your financial planner is going to make a big difference in your financial health, especially if you end up overpaying for the services you get. So it takes a lot of emotional intelligence. Here's the emotional part. To objectively understand and analyze an advisor's fee. So financial planners and investment advisors are typically compensated by three types of fee. The first type of fee is an upfront commission. It can be an upfront commission, or it also can be a trailing commission, something that they get every year. And that's, earned by the planner or their firm. A second fee can just be a fee for service, a direct fee paid to the advisor. It can be a flat fee. It can be a percentage of assets or net worth, like 1% is a real normal fee to charge, either of assets or net worth. This is known as fee only because they don't get commissions. That's the primary thing that sets apart a fee only advisor. And then the third one is a combination of both of these. An advisor that sells product and gets commission, but then also charges fees. And they have labeled themselves as fee-based. Sounds very close to fee only, isn't it? And there's a reason for that. Because you can say, well, yeah, they charge me a fee. It's usually a small fee to do the planning, and they help me get in all of these investments. Well, that's where they typically earn the bulk of their money, because they're getting commissions, all those investments, and you don't see it. And that's where the emotional EQ starts. So if you wonder how your planner or investment advisor is compensated, it's pretty easy. If you receive an invoice from them and in turn pay that invoice, then you're probably in the category of a fee only or a fee-based advisor. But if you're unaware of receiving an invoice, you're unaware of ever paying a fee directly to the advisor, they're most likely being compensated by commission. So, of these three, obviously the most difficult compensation model to figure out is the fee and commission arrangement, the fee-based arrangement, where you're aware of paying a fee, but you're unaware that you're paying commissions, which are typically not seen, you're not aware of. So as you can probably figure out, I'm not a big fan of compensating financial advisors by purchasing the products that they sell. The average commissions range from 3 to 8.5%. I've seen these run as high as 30%. And if you just do the math on this, if you were to earn 5% on an investment and you paid 30% up front, it's going to take you 8 years to break even when you figure what you're losing and earning. A fee-only advisor, as I said, the kind of a normal fee is about 1% a year. And the important thing is with a fee-only advisor that you get conflict-free advice. Even fee-based advisors are held to a fiduciary duty, right? And so that sounds like, well, that's great. They got to put my interests above theirs. Well, technically, yes, they should. But how do you determine they're doing that? And the SEC totally allows a fiduciary to receive commissions. Well, it's the commissions that are problematic. That's where the conflict is. So, with that said, you would think consumers would be flocking to fee-only advice. It's conflict-free, no bias, right? Well, the thing is, most consumers flock to financial advisors that charge commissions, and much higher commissions than you would pay with fee only. There was a study done in 2006 by James Choi. He is a professor of finance at Yale. And he and David Leibosin, who's an economics professor at Harvard, did a study on why investors choose to pay higher mutual fund fees. They concluded that investors appear to have a poor grasp of the fee issue, failing to minimize fees even when the benefits are presented in a clear and incontrovertible disclosure. In fact, the mean fee paid by the participants was far enough above the minimum they could have paid in fees that it dramatically reduced long-term gains. Okay, why? This doesn't seem logical. But we know that every financial behavior, no matter how illogical it is to you or to others, makes perfect sense when we understand the underlying belief system. And again, I contend this is not about the money. So why? Why is this? Well, I find 3 cognitive biases that might explain why consumers elect to pay more in unseen fees than in lower fees that are seen, even when both are clearly disclosed. They would be the loss aversion, status quo, and the ostrich bias, these 3 biases. So loss aversion occurs when one's decisions are swayed by avoiding short-term potential losses. Now, think of this. Writing a check for a fee even though it's less than what an unseen commission would be, is far more painful than being told you're going to pay a percentage of this investment that's going to go to fees. 3% fee on say $100,000 is way less to the brain. Not a 3% fee, but a 3% commission. Yeah, out of this 100, there's a 3% commission. Okay, thank you. Way cheaper than writing out $1,000 check. What's cheaper, $1,000 or 3%? Most of our brains don't do percentages very well at all. We perceive writing a check in dollars as an immediate loss. So loss aversion plays a role in this. Status quo bias finds that people are often resistant to change. So even when writing a check for a much smaller fee, which is a change that will have a big positive financial impact, people still default to the status quo, are not seeing the higher percentage fee that they're familiar with. So status quo bias is often seen as being irrational when a person goes with a seemingly safe choice. And this is a choice that's worked in the past versus a high amount of uncertainty with a new choice, which can be overwhelming. It's just like, well, the other people never asked me to write a check. This is not the status quo. This is scary. This is overwhelming. The ostrich bias is where we choose the right to ignore what we view as negative information. Okay, so like unseen commission costs significantly more than seen fees. But we choose to ignore that in hopes that the information, if we ignore that information, it's going to go away or it'll work out okay. So don't confuse me with the facts. We have difficult emotions around acknowledging and facing a negative reality. And the negative reality sometimes can be, well, oh my God, this is how I've always paid for my investment advice. Then there's the difficult feelings of, wow, I've overpaid. This is really hard. And it's kind of like, I don't even want to look at this. In Enneagram speak, it'd be kind of a type 9 reaction. So I hope that's helpful to you. I hope it's can save you a lot of money in the future. And I look forward to speaking to you again. Take care. Thanks for joining me, Rick Kahler, for another episode of Financial Therapy. It's not just about the money. This is where I combine the nuts and bolts of financial advice with the emotions that drive making them. Remember, every financial behavior, whether it appears illogical to you or others, makes perfect sense when we understand the underlying beliefs, feelings, and thoughts. Sign up for my weekly blog at financialawakenings.com. I hope you'll join me again for our next episode.